Welcome to the Pindown, your Detroit Pistons podcast. I'm your host, Wes Davenport from Motor City Hoops and Detroit Bad Boys.
And I'm Blake Silverman, writer for Detroit Bad Boys, covering everything Pistons, and news writer for Sports Illustrated.
Guys, we got a great episode for you today for two reasons. One, we got the return of the co-host here, Blake Silverman. Little guy's doing great, right? All good there. Back on his feet.
Thanks for holding it down.
Rolling around. Thank Laz for that, not me. He carried that show. But we've got a crossover. Excuse my basketball pun here. We got a crossover. We got Anthony from Pistons Talk joining us, and we got actual Pistons news. Let's go, guys. This is awesome. Anthony, thanks for coming on.
Hey, man. Anytime I get to talk basketball with you guys, I know it's going to be a good conversation. We're going to have fun, so let's go.
Yeah, this should be a fun one. And if you guys haven't listened already, we did, was it just a week ago, 2 weeks ago now, Anthony, that we jumped on Pistons Talk with you?
Oh, yeah. I clipped a video. I meant to tell you before we started. I clipped the video of Dennis Jenkins, and his coach saw it. He loved it, and his mom saw it, and he loved it. So you're like, number one in their eyes right now, Wes. They love what you're talking about.
I will take that. Well, guys, it's the off season, right? So we don't have fast moving news. We don't have a bunch of games going on. So if you guys haven't listened to that episode of Pistons Talk where Blake and I jumped on, talked some Pistons hoops, go ahead and do that. That was a fun time. It was a good one. I think at the time we just missed the Javonte Green news, right?
Yeah,
so now we actually have a couple bits of Pistons related news here. Let's start with Javonte Green. So I'll just read off a couple of stats from him, and then I want to get both you and Anthony and Blake your guys' thoughts on that signing for the Pistons. So last year, he averaged 5.1 points per game, 3.2 rebounds per game, and 1.5 stocks while slashing 43, 33, and 72. That was in 18.5 minutes per game. Pretty close to what he's done his career, right? So his career numbers, 5.3 points, 7.4 rebounds, 3.1 rebounds, 1.2 stocks on 54, 34, and 75. 51, 34, and 75. So, Anthony, we'll just go you first. What did you think of this signing, this kind of wing depth, forward depth signing for Detroit?
Initially, I was really confused. I had to double check to make sure I wasn't getting sentled. I was like, oh, okay, we're doing that. Cool. I was like, some depth piece, cheap depth piece. I didn't hate it. I know last time we talked, we were kind of talking about backup power forward, but I read that Green has guarded some backup fours, power forward. So it sounds like he is a versatile defender, can kind of guard 2 through 4. Initially, it just popped in my head because I just remembered Wendell Moore from last year. I was like, maybe he can have a Wendell Moore type of role where he might not play every game, but JB may call his number this upcoming season.
Yeah, I mean, hey, when I saw it, I thought it was one of the most groundbreaking moves of the offseason. No, I'm just kidding, and no disrespect to Javonte Green, but no, I'm totally with you. When I saw it, it was one of those that came out of left field. It just wasn't on many, if any, radars, and I don't think it's a rotation signing. I don't think he's coming into a role where he's immediately going to get minutes. I didn't even think of that Wendell Moore comp for role. I think that's a really good one. What I like about it, I think he's just another guy that is going to just be a defender out there for you. He's not going to impact the game too much on the other side of the ball, but that is totally okay. Sometimes you need those guys off the bench. And I know the great majority of people probably would have preferred someone who shot better from 3, maybe had a little bit more on the offensive side. But overall, I think it is just like a wing depth piece. He sort of fits that mold of players that Trajan Langdon seems to like. And JB Bickerstaff, too, for that matter. We were talking in the DBB Slack, and there's actually no crossover with Green and Bickerstaff or Langdon, even though he played for the Cavs and Pelicans. But even knowing that, it seems like it makes sense for the type of guy that they go after. So I like it. It's not crazy. And yeah, I would trust him to get minutes here and there if it comes to that point, whether it's injury, foul trouble, whatever it might be.
So, Anthony, you brought up the fact that we were talking on Pistons Talk about maybe a backup power forward, and Javonte Green, not a backup power forward, okay? He's a 3, pretty like pure and simple, but he's got a little bit of range. So, like you mentioned, he can guard down, he can guard up. So, reason I'm bringing this up is last year, so that first stat line that I read off, last year only 1% of his minutes came at the 4. However, in Chicago, which is where his best seasons were, he ended up spending about 20% of his minutes at the 4. And in Chicago, it was actually his career best year, 12.2 points per game, 7.4 rebounds per game, 2 stocks on 60, 37, 77 on a year where, again, he's splitting. It's about 65, 70% at the 3, 20% at the 4. So, like, I'm with you, Blake. I don't think this is a rotation guy, but having a player with that sort of flexibility and I just would love to call out the stocks here. So steals plus blocks, a guy who's able to average close to 1.5 in only 17, 18 minutes a night. That's impressive, right? That's a lot of disruption as a primarily perimeter defender. So the fact that you've got this guy sitting at maybe 10 or 11 in your rotation, he's not going to get minutes, but if someone goes down, if Ron Holland goes down, if Asar goes down, you've got him that can step up into some minutes and be productive. I actually think this is fantastic depth for that combo forward, even though, he's only like 6'5".
Yeah, I'm with it. I mean, I'll be interested to see what happens. And he's just the 14th guy on the roster. Like, there still is an open roster spot. And I think this signing might throw a wrench into like what is Bobby Klintman's future like with this team. Things, even though they play different positions, it's just like, where would his minutes come from? And I see like both of those players just as guys that might get in if there's foul trouble or it's a blowout or there's injuries, whatever it might be. But over the course of an 82 game season, no matter what team you are, stuff happens, whether it's injuries, suspensions, what have you. Like, there's going to be opportunities for Green, Klintman, the rest of the guys at the end of this bench to get minutes. And I think, like Wes brought up that season in Chicago, like that's definitely, like, he's an NBA player. And we've seen this team, not in this regime, like, go and sign players who just don't give you much. And I think there's still like something there. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy, but he can help you out, defend, like, if he happens to find himself playing next to Cade for some reason or another, he could probably take the top defensive assignment and have Cade go guard someone else. So I like it overall, but again, not like groundbreaking or anything. You're not going to get a groundbreaking signing at this stage of the offseason anyway. So
I thought of something when you guys were talking. Like, do you think they maybe signed him just to help Ron Holland and Asar in practice because he's known as a defender? Maybe you just have a defender on them. So, they're working on their 3-point shots. They're working on their drive. So they would really have to beat a good defender in Javonte Green.
Yeah, that's a good point. And we also don't know the terms of the deal other than it's like a 1-year deal. So like, it might even be non-guaranteed. And I feel like he's going to be on the team this year. Like, I'm not saying he's going to go and get cut, but yeah, a guy that has some more experience where, like I almost said when I was initially reacting to the signing, is Javonte Green sort of like a much less version of Asar Thompson? Just when you come into the, like, he's going to defend for you, but he's not giving you much offensively. And I think Asar is in like a different stratosphere, which is why I didn't want to say that initially. But yeah, when you put it that way, just challenging him and helping out with some things, especially on the defensive side of the ball, I can definitely see that.
Well, I like the comparison to Asar, but one other major difference, Javonte Green can kind of shoot the ball. Like, he's not a great shooter, but we're still talking mid-30s on, like, 2.5, 3 a game. That's solid. You can work with that if your worst shooter in a lineup is shooting 33%, like, that's a very good floor spacing lineup. And, obviously, Sarr's just not there. But, Anthony, I wanted to ask you with this signing, and then we can move on to talking some of the schedule. And I know we got a couple questions here in the live chat, so we'll get to that as well. But with Javonte Green, like, I think it seems like we're all kind of in agreement, right, that he's not quite in the rotation, but just on the fringe of it. So as a depth player there on the wing, what could we maybe expect his I guess role to be in injury relief? Say Sarr goes down or Ron Holland goes down. Are we expecting him to step in as maybe like a starter like Wendell Moore did when Ivy went down? Do we think we're shifting maybe Ron Holland up if Sarr's the one that got hurt? Like, how do you think those Django blocks might kind of fit together there?
I think that's such a good question, and I honestly think it's matchup dependent. And I know that's like I'm kind of copping out with this answer.
No, that's always the right answer.
I feel like it's so matchup dependent, and JB is like one of those coaches where I think he does really value floor spacing with Cade Cunningham. Not to say that this guy can't hit threes. He's shown the ability to, kind of hit threes when he's open, but in terms of the rotation, like I could see him just kind of going crazy and like throwing Duncan Robinson at small forward if there's an injury that way. But I mean, I don't really know what his role is going to be. Like, he might play, he might not. He might just be like a bench mop guy where he's just celebrating there with the two-way guys, and we just get some like really funny highlights like we did with like Bobby Klitman and Donis Jenkins, like, doing the Simone Fontecchio Italian thing last year. Like, maybe that's his type of role he could have. I really don't know, man.
That just reminded me, Blake, when you were talking about in the past, right, teams that the Pistons have had where they've just not had much NBA talent. This is a 14-man roster right now. 12 of them are legitimate NBA players. That's a really nice position to be in. I feel very good about that, given the hindsight there. This is a question here from Ryan Bozeman. Says, I know it's probably not going to happen, but why are we not saying go get Russell Westbrook as a backup point guard? So, Anthony, Blake, what do you guys think? Maybe not specifically on Russell Westbrook. He's probably out of the price range a little bit here, but that backup point guard conversation right now, it's primarily Jaden Ivey, right? But do they need depth beyond that? Should we be moving past expecting Ivy to be that backup point guard in the second unit? What do you think, Anthony?
Me personally, like, I think the only thing you could actually, to kind of answer Ryan's question, the only connection you have with Westbrook is Tellum, but I doubt Tellum is going to go to Trajan and say, hey, go get my guy. But I think the reason why they're not going out and getting one is you're just going to stagger Jaden Ivey. But I understand the conversation and the talking point with fans. I just don't want Jaden Ivey just to get so exhausted to the point where you get to the playoffs where he's just, in the starting lineup staggering. I can see that point with fans, but I would just kind of roll with, see what Donis Jenkins can give you personally. I mean, I think if he has a good camp, was really impressed in Summer League. I just like his pace and the way he set stuff. I cannot say set stuff up. There we go. Initially. It's been a long day, but I would just kind of roll with Donis. I mean, you have Marcus Sasser if you want to play that experiment again. I just don't really see this front office really being that focused on getting a backup guard right now.
Right. With Westbrook specifically, I think it's just, and I'm like a huge Westbrook guy. I think he's hilarious. I've been a fan of him since he's been drafted. Like, I think the intensity he brings is second to none. And yes, there's been that drop off and role changes and everything like that. But I think he'd be a positive pretty much in any situation. I just think where he is in his career, I don't really see him interested in signing a short-term deal here. And I think that makes it sort of a two-way street with this front office. Like, I mean, I'm sure they talk about everyone who's available on the market, but I don't think it's super, I guess, realistic just because of who the player is, what he's looking for at this point. And honestly, if I think with that 15th roster spot, they're going to try and maintain flexibility. I saw Philip in the chat brought up the Malik Beasley situation and whether that spot's being held over for him. Who knows? But even if it's not, I think that 15th roster spot is going to be held for flexibility, and whether it's a two-way guy that gets converted or there's a trade where you take more players back than you send out, whatever it might be. And I'm with you, Anthony, what you said. I think Ivy should. I think you should roll with what you have. You saw what they did before Ivy went down last season. Give him some more run, and my mind went to Dennis Jenkins as well. Like, can he be that third guard who could step in there if Ivy or Cade are in foul trouble or whatever the situation might be, and see what happens as well? I don't think he's a long-term backup starting guard or backup guard option. Maybe he grows into that, but is so young in this career and how impressive he's been. I think it would be a disservice to this team to not at least give him an opportunity.
So I'm glad you brought up the phrase long term, right? Because, and I'd love to get both of your guys' thoughts on this, but something I've been thinking about regarding this backup point guard conversation is that it seems to me that the hesitancy on the part of fans online and on various forums is that we saw what happens, right, when Jaden Ivey goes down with an injury. Everything was running pretty smoothly for the offense in both units up until that day in, what was it, January, February, where Ivey actually goes down. And then you have that period where the team's trying to figure out, okay, can Marcus Sasser do it? Can we rely on Asar Thompson as a backup, like initiator a little bit more, and then eventually going out to get Dennis Schroeder. But, you know, it's not really fair to expect Jaden Ivey to break his leg again, right? Like he that was an unusual injury. So I wonder if we would all feel a little bit better about this conversation, about this, the situation there with the backup point guard, if we start to think about just usual wear and tear type injuries. So, you know, imagine Cade goes down for a 4-game span and you shift Ivy to point guard and you figure out what to do at the starters and the backup, the starting two and the backup point guard, right? Like maybe you're pulling up Marcus Sasser because you don't want to disrupt the rotation too much and you're calling up Dennis Jenkins. Like, are you okay with that for 3, 4, 5 games? If Jaden Ivey goes down, right, and you pull up Karis LeVert to start, and then now let's just see what Marcus Sasser can do for a week of basketball, 2 weeks of basketball, instead of the months, the long-term problem that it was last year. Because when I started shifting into that sort of mindset, I became much more comfortable with how this roster is set up at that position. Am I crazy for that? Blake, what do you guys think?
I don't think so, but I could also see a concern there because I'm not sure that Jaden Ivey's natural position is point guard. I mean, we've seen him run an offense and do good things, and I think the way the roster is constructed now, it could work. And then you saw what a big help Dennis Schroeder was when you go and get him at the deadline. The caveat there is Jaden Ivey wasn't available when that happened. So what would his role have looked like if Jaden Ivey was healthy? So if it is a super short period of time, like that 3-4 game stretch, I'd be comfortable with it. But if it was anything more, like if it was a considerable chunk of the season, I'd honestly be a bit concerned. But maybe if you do get that short stretch and you can see how it goes, and then later on you do need Ivy to run the offense for a more longer fashion, then maybe you'd have more of that trust there. But like as of now, I'd be a little concerned, I guess.
I think that's a great point, Wes. I never really thought of it that way personally. I just kind of go like reactionary at times, and I have a really bad habit of doing that. But now you're making me think. I personally probably wouldn't feel as different as I do. I just kind of worry of him just getting exhausted throughout the season. Playing high 30 minutes, being a starter, being a backup. But I mean, if he comes out, plays 60, 70 games, we probably have a different opinion. We probably aren't coming up in here and like pounding the table for a backup point guard because we saw a pretty good sample size of him being able to run, the second unit. But I know getting Karis LeVert, I think, also helps. He's not going to have all the reps at point guard. I think there are going to be a lot of different variables with JB. I think JB likes to have multiple options, so we could have multiple, creators, bringing the ball up the court. So maybe Jaden Ivey's load won't be as heavy as it was last year.
Yeah, I'm right there with you with that because Karis LeVert is like the perfect guard to put next to a combo guard like Jaden Ivey because that's what he is, right? He's not really a point guard. He's not really a pure scoring guard. He does a bit of everything. So you get a guy like Karis LeVert that can actually take a lot of ball handling pressure off. I do love that pairing. And just as an aside, so Michael here, Dompier in the live chat says something that I've been thinking about as well. So when he does the same thought experiment with, say, Tobias Harris being out a week or two, he's less comfortable. And I say, yeah, absolutely. That's why I was really hoping they would go out and sign a four that could get some minutes here and there. And I guess, Javonte Green can qualify here. If I'm comfortable with Asar Thompson and Ron Holland getting minutes at the four and Tobias Harris goes down, like, okay, we could start Javonte Green or just primarily essentially move Asar Thompson to be a full-time four in that role instead of Tobias when he's out. I kind of like it, but I gotta admit, I am still a little bit uncomfortable here, more so with that backup four situation than the backup point guard. Even with Javonte Green, Anthony, what do you think? And then we'll kind of move on to the schedule.
Just sign Trey Lyles so I don't have to stay up at night worrying when Tobias goes out. We can't rebound the basketball to save our lives. Just sign the man, please.
Fair enough. All right, so we had a schedule release today, sometime during the afternoon. I actually missed the actual release. I just looked on Twitter. It happened to be around 4:30 Central Time. I was like, oh, okay, we all know who the Pistons are playing now. But Anthony, wanted to ask just in general, what stood out? What was interesting about the schedule? I mean, I don't know how much you are able to really make out of this for Pistons Talk usually, but I know Blake and I, we struggle a little bit to try to find talking points out of the schedule. So did anything really stand out, good or bad?
All the national games we got. I'm not used to it. I don't think I've seen that many probably since the Go in the Work era. And I know national guys like Brian Windhor said, don't be surprised.
Real quick for listeners, 16 total national games, guys. So that's including traditional national broadcasts as well as broadcasts on Peacock, right? So that's 16 total.
And there's a few Amazon Prime ones, right? So similar to the Peacock games.
Yeah, but you're starting at 16. Who says you can't get up to 20 if you keep winning? If you look last year, we had two games, 2 national games. The fact that they gave us 2 was kind of generous, kind of given coming off a 14-win season, but 16-2 is so dramatic. I think that's the first thing I looked at. I'm looking at all the national games. I'm like, how many? Maybe we get 10. I was like, 16? That's crazy. I don't know about you guys, what you guys were looking at with the schedule.
That was going to be my thing that stuck out. I think the other thing you could look at is the NBA Cup games, particularly the last one. And we know the Pistons, it came down to that last one in the group stage last year. They're in their last group game this year. They're playing the Orlando Magic at home on a Friday night. It seems like those might be the best 2 teams in the group. And still, I'm not putting a ton of eggs into the NBA Cup basket, but it is a fun thing to get around and rally around. And that could be a real competitive game. And pretty much all the Pistons Cup games before that are pretty winnable, like the Nets, the Sixers, and Boston. So I'm looking toward that Orlando game and thinking it could be a really fun night at LCA. Also, the Pistons have the Washington Wizards at home on my birthday, and I couldn't imagine a better way to spend my birthday.
That'll be a blowout.
As long as they win. What if they drop it, Blake? That ruins your whole day. High risk situation here because you expect the win, but if they don't deliver, now the whole day's ruined. You'd almost rather be at coin toss game because if they lose, you go, but it was competitive.
That's true, but hey, I'm just a fan of watching Washington Wizards basketball.
Bilal Coulibaly is a lot of fun. I got to give you that. Alex Sarr, they actually have an interesting team, I have to say. There's some fun pieces there. I don't know if it's going to work, and they may, if it starts to work, they may just nuke it anyway, but it could be fun. It could be fun.
Yeah, and also with the national game schedule, like Anthony, you said 2 last year. I'd be interested to go through the previous years and sort of combine all the national games we got, because this has to be the most national games that the Pistons have had combined for like the past however many years in total. And yes, there's a new TV deal. There's some new platforms that are broadcasting these games. I think there are just more national games in general, but it's fun to see, and I'm really excited for it. I normally flip back and forth between the national broadcast and the fan duel because I like seeing what both sides say, but it's fun to see what the Pistons can do on that national stage. I mean, you saw what Cade did in that game against Miami, so I'm excited for more of those opportunities.
So we know a lot of this effect is Cade Cunningham's a superstar. It's good for the NBA if former number 1 overall picks become very good and highly popular players. So the Pistons are going to keep getting some national attention just based on that alone. So that's awesome. That's great. We know that the Pistons were a fun story last year, right? They they make that huge leap. They're entertaining. They're competitive. Great stuff. I also think quite a bit of this is the Thompson twins. There's been so much attention on not just the men, but Asar too, all off season. I mean, he's been getting pushed by Windhorse and other big podcasts.
Zach Lowe said he was like his most intriguing player of the year.
Yes. He's been, he and his brother were on some magazine covers. Well, like I think
Slam.
there's getting to be, was it Slam? Yeah. So there's lots of interest in the Thompson twins, and the Pistons have one of them. Also, was that's the rivalry week game, right? I mean, I don't know why the NBA is really doing a rivalry week, but that's why the Pistons are playing the Rockets. It's the twins. So it's fun. The Pistons have 2 guys right now that national media is really hyper fixated on. That I can't remember the last time that's happened.
Yeah, I mean, Asar was even in a Nike commercial for about 4 seconds, and it was like a really creative marketing thing. It was like, grab the boards.
What was it, for a shoe or something?
Sabrina Ionescu, her shoe. Yeah, we were actually asked a question about that, and neither Wes or myself had seen the commercial yet. But it is a funny cameo.
People are going to have to stop asking us questions like that, because it took all that was in me just today to not ask Anthony what centling is, or whatever you said. You didn't want to be centled. What are you talking
think that's
about?
Like,
what did I miss?
I think it's like a word in the dictionary now.
Is it? So, okay, I guess I just don't know this. All right.
Okay, so NBA Central, like the big Twitter account?
The aggregating account?
Yeah, so there's a parody account called NBA Central, and I swear once a week I almost fall for just some of the tweets, like especially during the WNBA stuff. Like I was just like so what? Dwight Howard got kicked out of a game. I was like, oh, that can't be real. I was just like, man, I was like, I just had to unfollow him because he baits me every time because it looks like Central, but it says Central on it. And I'm like, man.
Yeah, and I mean, Wes is
this is like a fake Woj or from an old day, right?
Yeah, and they try to make it as realistic as possible, but with outrageous stuff to make people believe it. Like, I hope my brother isn't listening right now, but one time Sentil tweeted that Zion was retiring, And that's like crazy, but also somewhat believable. And my brother sent it to like, I think our fantasy basketball group chat and, or me, and we were all just like, yeah, man, you got sentled. So
All right. Yeah, I guess you know what? You learn something every day, right? So this is what I've learned today. Sentled. You got sentled.
You know what the funny part is he calls some stuff like weeks in advance sometimes, like it actually comes true. It's just like is Woj running this account like low key? Like just running it just for shits and gigs?
I think that man is very much enjoying his new job, not being on his phone as much.
As much as relative. I'm sure he's still on his phone all the time for the Bonnies down there. Let's do this question here. We got Philip Shaw says he is disappointed in Trajan Langdon to some extent, so not fully, but a little bit. Says, is it time to contend in the East? And if it is, should there be more moves in the works? So going into this offseason, guys, did you think it was really, hey, East is wide open, you've got all these injuries, it's time to make a push? Or were you more in the camp of, it's time to really run it back? And then I guess from that would probably inform whether or not you're a little disappointed or more just excited, Anthony.
I would say on Twitter, more people were saying the East is wide open. And I think it depends what you view wide open. Like if you don't want to get leaped by Atlanta, for example. I think everyone saw the Desmond Bane trade. They're like, okay, we have to put all our chips in and go get someone right now so the Magic don't leap us. But I think some Pistons fans forget when the Magic were somewhat healthy last year, they were pretty high in the Eastern Conference without Desmond Bane. They just had a lot of injuries, and they still finished 41-41. I get what Philip is saying, but I think when you listen to Trajan Langdon talk, he's still in evaluation mode. He really hasn't drafted any of these guys. He doesn't know whether or not he wants to extend Jaden Ivey or Jalen Duren. I think it would be kind of premature for them to try to put all their chips on the table and just kind of make that big splash without not knowing more information about the guys that he did not draft.
Yeah, I get this this sentiment as well. I do think that the Pistons are in a good position to push their chips in when they want to. That could happen at the trade deadline this year. It could happen next offseason. There's still a lot of stuff with the players that you have on the roster that need to be worked out. A number of guys that are eligible for extensions will be eligible for extensions. You have to make those decisions. So I honestly like keeping a little bit of flexibility while that's still the case. That said, the Pistons situation reminds me a little bit of what the Detroit Tigers just went through. Like they're overperforming. They have some glaring needs, can go and address those needs at the trade deadline. They chose to go a different way and really like bet on their young players. But the difference in those situations is, to me, the clock for the Tigers is ticking because you have one of the best pitchers in baseball who might not be on your team in a couple years. To me, the Pistons clock is not ticking because Cade Cunningham has already signed his rookie max extension. It's about to kick in. It's going to kick in for a little bit more than you wanted it to, but for a good reason. He gets all NBA. And honestly, if things go right, Cade is going to sign another max contract when he's eligible to in a few years. There's a lot more unknowns, but I think you have your franchise piece in place. And then with that, you can go a lot of different directions, whether Ivy and or Duren get an extension, you're probably going to extend Asar Thompson and then Ron Holland's eligible after that. So, I like just waiting for the right move to happen because it's a scary thing. You're going to have to give up a lot of draft assets and probably a piece or two that you've worked to develop that is scary just to give up based on what they go and do. So But with that, I think overall this team still has time, even though this year would be a year where it would make sense to go all in. You don't know what's going to happen in the East moving forward. I think this team still has a good future ahead of them, and they haven't really like mortgaged anything to keep that the case.
So, Anthony, I'll ask you this because this is a great follow-up question here from Philip Shaw, since we're all on the same page here. But he says, basically, if not now, when, right? So if you feel that way, when do you think the Pistons are going to be in contention for an Eastern Conference title? And that's not regular season, right? That's not coming into the playoffs as a 1 seed, though that would obviously be nice. That's making it out of the East.
I would say 2027 to me, I think would be more realistic because they have that trade exception. I know the last time we talked, we discussed the contracts that they have now, right? They're more stackable. You can get to that 30, 40 million a lot easier. Disgruntled stars become a thing. It seems like every year the NBA is nothing but drama. There could be a player out there that we're not like discussing right now, but in a few months, maybe he's not getting the touches. Maybe he just doesn't like the fit or the city that he plays in. I can't really give you like a name. I've seen some names floated around recently that I'm just kind of like, I'm good. But I think 2027 to me, you'll get a better understanding of what they view Jaden Ivey, what they view in Jalen Duren, and when they think their window is. I think what this front office is telling us is, we have a young core. We have a franchise guy. We just need a little bit more time to evaluate who's going to be that long-term shooting guard of the future. Is Jalen Duren a centerpiece on this team? If not, who are we going to get to replace him? I think they still have a lot of questions. That's why they really didn't kind of make a quote-unquote Desmond Bay type trade this offseason.
All right, so we got a really – oh, sorry, Blake. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to add, I'm in a similar boat. Like 2027 would be third year of Cade's extension. And that's where what I would have said too. And Philip also brings up here with Tatum and Halliburton out for the year. He can see an opportunity next year for the Pistons and the Magic. Anthony, we talked about this on your show. It seems like in the East, there are teams that make runs out of nowhere. The Pacers, the Hawks. The Pistons are sort of following that blueprint. And although I'm not expecting them to necessarily make a run to the Eastern Conference Finals this year or even next year, they could if everything breaks right. Like, why not?
All right, so this was a really fun question here from Brent Stevens. Says, how would you guys guard the Magic and the Rockets when matched up? So he says the Magic pose some problems, especially trying to figure out where Asar's going to go there out on the wing. So let me just read out the Orlando Magic projected starting lineup, then we'll do the same thing with the Rockets. Here's the Magic. Jalen Suggs at the 1, Desmond Bane at the 2, Franz Wagner at the 3, Paolo Banchero at the 4, and Wendell Carter Jr. at the 5. So, Anthony, I'll throw it to you first. How do you guard that? Because I agree, that's tough. That's a good starting 5.
Man, that's a JB Bickerstaff question, Brent. Damn,
it's his problem.
Honestly, I think if you're just talking about the Magic, I think who kind of gives you the biggest problems, in my opinion, is Franz. More than Paolo, because Franz I'm more scared of as a Piston fan. Paolo I kind of expect where I know his spots are, and I think Isaiah Stewart and Asar Thompson cover so much ground for the Detroit Pistons, but I would try to have Asar on Franz as much as possible. I think Desmond Bane brings so many more problems, and he's cooked the Pistons every time he plays them. It's honestly crazy. If I have to see a Desmond Bane, Brett Usher highlight clip one more time, I'm going to snap because I feel like he posts it like every 2 weeks, but probably just kind of roll with a Asar and Stu and just kind of try to switch everything because they're just such a hard team to deal with.
Yeah, I think the answer here, if you're going to throw a curveball based on matchups, is something involving Ron Holland. And that poses another problem, though. Like, is Ron going to play next to Asar and Jalen Duren, and you're going to take away the floor spacing? That brings out a whole bevy of other issues, but maybe you can change it up a bit to make it work. But that said, if you're playing small, so you have Ron and Asar out there, and I mean, maybe Isaiah Stewart, or if you're just playing small in general, I could see so much attention being on Franz, Paolo, and Bane that Wendell Carter goes and makes like 5 or 6 threes on you. So I think it is a tough team to match up with. And we know in general, even if you're not playing small, the Pistons have had a difficult time guarding those bigs who can step out and knock down threes. I mean, Wendell Carter can. He hasn't always. I don't think he's necessarily a given to do that night in and night out. But if he is getting those open looks, I could see it happening. But yeah, they're just like a tough team to guard. Houston as well. So hopefully JB figures out a way to minimize it as much as possible.
Blake, that's where I was going to go to, because I was like just looking at their starting five. I'm most worried about Wendell Carter Jr. and Desmond Bane. I mean, Anthony, Desmond Bane tends to cook Detroit. Don't know what that's about, but he tends to. And when you've got a guard that can go off like that, your instinct is, let's stick Asar Thompson on him. Well, who's going to guard Franz? So can't really do that. Franz is going to have to be checked by Asar Thompson. I'm pretty comfortable with Tobias on Paolo. I feel like the physicality there that Harris could put on him, as big as Paolo is, he's not really a bruiser type guy. You know, he likes to play in the mid range, and so I'm cool with Tobias Harris on that. But yeah, Wendell Carter Jr. not only being able to shoot, but also put the ball on the floor a little bit. Those are two pretty solid Jalen Duren defensive weaknesses. That makes me worried. I just kind of think you got to take them straight up, though, right? Like put Cade on Suggs, Ivy on Bane, Asar on Wagner, Harris on Pancaro, and Duren on Carter Jr., and then you just kind of close your eyes and hope. The Magic are going to be good, man. The Magic are going to be good.
I think I know why Desmond Bane cooks Detroit, though, every time he plays.
Why is that?
Troy Weaver promised to draft him, and he never did.
Hey, Troy's elsewhere now. Cook the Pelicans now.
Yeah, go get someone else. Don't take it out on us anymore. Like, get that voodoo magic out of here. All right, what about the Rockets? Blake, I'll throw this one to you first. And look, I'm going to take some liberties here and just craft the scariest Rockets lineup I can think of. All right, so and then we'll just try to play it out from there, because Lord only knows what the Rockets are going to do. They have so many different avenues they can walk down. So let's say they start Fred VanVleet, Ahmed Thompson, Jabari Smith Jr., Kevin Durant, and Alperen Sengun. How do you guard that?
Oh, dear.
I mean, you don't, but like, how do you try? With the Pistons starters, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might be a similar situation where you try and do something where you have Ron Holland and Asar out there. But even maybe Javonte Green is somewhat of an answer. And I don't think he'd start just based on the matchup by any means, but maybe he gets some more minutes when the second unit is in, but Amen and KD or something like that are still out there for Houston. So I think that's a difficult one as well. Luckily, when you go to the Rockets, the Pistons only have to play them 2 times a year. So that definitely helps overall. But I think it's like you said, it's tough to guard, and all the lineups that I'm throwing out there are adding defense in sake of like giving up some offense. And when you are playing a team against the Rockets, they're going to score a lot of points. So you got to keep up with that too. So it also might just be keep things the same and try to keep up with them. But it's hard to do. I don't know how. I'm excited to watch them play this year, though.
I think you got to throw Jaden Ivey out there on Fred VanVleet. Have Cade on Amen have Asar on KD because that's probably the where you want Asar to be guarding. I'm actually not too worried about Alperen Sengun because Jalen Duren, one of the games that they played, he had him in a blender for whatever reason. I don't know if he just. I feel like Sengun does not like physicality. He does not like stronger defenders on him. I think that's why he really struggled against the Detroit Pistons. The Detroit Pistons in one of the games that they did play this year. But I think if you can kind of just have Ivy take Van Vliet, Sar KD, and kind of just let Jabari Smith Jr. try to hit some threes, I think you're in pretty good shape.
See, I was going the exact same direction. And because my first thought when I saw this all read out, beyond obviously you want Asar on KD, like that's the no-brainer, was that I think Cade could really lock up Jabari Smith Jr. Like I really think you talk about guys that don't like physicality. Like Jabari Smith Jr. can't really put the ball on the ground if he's getting pressed. Like I think you could hide Cade and still have him be a plus defender in that type of matchup, which is pretty rare. But then Tobias Harris on a men? Oh no. I mean
you can even
how does that end up? I feel like you'd have to, right? Because Amen would just run by Tobias and then circle around him for fun and then dunk the ball anyway. Like it's just he's too fast. Even if you're playing way off of him, he's just way too fast.
Yeah, just have his brother guard him for fun. Like
that'd be
why
fun.
not?
Yes, that would be the most fun outcome with all of this. So thank you to Brent for that question. That was a fun one. We don't get to do the matchup stuff in the off season too often. So that was a nice change of pace there for that. Blake, do I have permission to nerd real quick? Just really quickly. Because this never happens for me. All right. This never happens for me. So I'm an economist by trade, and online after the schedule release, everyone's talking about how there are all these Peacock games and Amazon Prime, and of course you have to pay for those streaming services, and that's a bummer, right? So our guy Sean Corp, he actually did the math. It was awesome. It was about $800 if you wanted to watch all of the games this year for the Detroit Pistons on annual plans. So we're just going to leave that there because that's the direct comparison here. Well, this is my world, all right? So I got excited. I went back to 2008, and from ABC News, I found the FCC talking about the average monthly cost of cable at that time, right? Because at that time, there's no streaming. You're paying for cable. So in cable in 2008, $60 a month. Well, let's adjust that for inflation. If we bring that to today's dollars, $91.83 per month, you would have been paying to watch cable in order to watch all of those Pistons games. For a year, $1,102. It's $1,101.96. All right. So they're saving you money. We're winning as the consumer. I know 800's a bunch, but that's pretty great, huh? That's pretty great.
I wish my cable bill looked like that. Was my reaction to your note. I mean, mine's combined cable and internet, so it's a little bit different.
You're getting a deal on that bundle plan. That's nice.
I don't know about it. Doesn't feel like a deal every time I pay it. But yeah, I get it because when sporting events started to be streamed on Peacock and Prime and all the other streaming networks, it's almost just more of an annoyance finding them and going to the apps. I have all these subscriptions anyway, so it's not a big deal to me, but not everyone does. So I think it's just a learning curve a bit. And I mean, I should get rid of my cable. Really, the only reason I kept it is for local sports teams, so I could get the FanDuel Sports Network. But you can pay $20 a month or whatever it is to get that anyway too. So it's annoying having all these different logins and different apps that you have to go to. But yeah, Wes, I'm happy you did the math, and it was definitely your expertise because. Yeah, it doesn't seem like a crazy amount of money, but the way Sean lays it out, it sort of feels that way until you
Yeah.
go a little deeper.
Well, and Anthony, before you jump in, and I'll throw it to you and we can move on, but the real number that you should get excited about from Sean's tweet, go find it. It was very good work that he did to actually calculate this all out. It was about $250 if you want to be on top of your stuff, right? If you're only going to subscribe when the Pistons are going to play, you're going to cancel your subscriptions because you have the ability to do that. These are all contract free. So, and you probably would be accessing that FanDuel direct streaming platform as well. So, right. I mean, how about that kind of deal for $1,100 versus like $250? If you're really on top of it and you're really penny pinching, that's pretty great. I was pumped. Like I saw those stats from Sean. I was like, oh, this is awesome.
I went on a whole 30-minute tangent and I sounded like an old man. I was like, man, remember when the Pistons were on basic cable and that crap was free? But like, I still think like all the streaming things, like it's probably a lot cheaper than the NFL. Like if you want to do like comparisons,
it's
like
so expensive.
Oh yeah, yep. The NFL's insane.
Yeah, I mean, I still think a lot of people are going to use those pirated sites anyways. They're not going to subscribe to anything. They'll just get it free. But personally, I would rather pay. Like I pay for FanDuel just because of convenience. Like I don't want to like a lot of those sites. Like if you watch for more than an hour, you have to refresh it, re-log back in. Like the feeds like go in and out. Like I'd rather just give you the $20 a month. I have no problems with paying for Peacock or Amazon Prime or anything like that. Personally, if it's more accessible, why not?
Yeah, and our guy Kyle Metz brought it up. It's sad that it's easier for people outside of Detroit to watch games because I was gonna say are the national TV games also on NBA League Pass? Does anyone know that off the top of their head?
I don't know.
I wouldn't know for sure, but I mean, I guess it's always possible they black that out on League Pass specifically.
I don't know if they are, but if they are, even if you're in Detroit, you can get League Pass for like $25 a month and use a VPN. Hope no one's listening, but you could do that, and it's a good way to watch Pistons games. But yeah, and then you get the rest of the league with that too.
All right. Thank you for entertaining my brief little economics interjection.
I'm happy you guys both did the math. That was good.
It's rare that basketball conversation kind of comes into my world like that. So I was really pumped. All right. Let's close out on this, all right? Because I know we're coming up on a hard cutoff here for you, Blake. So let's get this in. We've got 5 players. We're obviously not going to get through all of them, but we thought it would be fun if for Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Asar Thompson, Ron Holland, and Jalen Duren, each of us picked out one stat that we're pretty confident they're going to get. All right. So instead of going through all of them, let's do it this way. We'll each pick one player, no overlaps, right? Anthony, we'll let you go first. So you got the pick of the litter. Make a prediction on one stat for any of Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Asar Thompson, Ron Holland, and Jalen Duren that you think that player is going to average during the year that you're confident in.
Can I do Ron Holland?
Yeah, of
Okay.
course.
One fight a game.
I love that you're going off the books. That's awesome. One a game? Come on. No, you can't do that.
Okay, no, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'll just go Jaden Ivey. I think 40% from 3 is doable for him.
That's fair. So what is that? Sorry, I'm looking this up.
It's like 1% percentage point decrease from last year, right? Wasn't he was over 40 last season, right?
Just above 41, sorry, just below 41, but only in 30 games. So it's just maintaining that over fingers crossed, fully healthy season.
Yeah.
Do you think he's doing that on volume, right?
Like 5.5 a game, I think. Like around there.
Okay, so can I ask a follow-up then? If he hits that, where's his points per game total? Because that would be awesome. That'd be incredible.
Like 19.5, maybe close to 20, like around there.
All right,
17.6 last year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, last follow-up. If he does that, is this the number 2 for Cade Cunningham in the near future. Like if he puts up a season like that, just about 20 points per game, 40% from three, he's doing that combo role where he's the starting two, he's the backup one. Like, is that enough for you to give him the type of contract that would say number 2 scoring option on this team?
Yeah, I'm a little bit higher on Jaden Ivey, I feel, than most. I buy everything, all the intangibles. So I think he could easily get 125 his next contract extension, personally.
Love it. I'm joining you on Jaden Ivey Island for whatever it's worth. Blake, all right, make your prediction.
All right, Wes, I'm sorry if you wanted to pick Cade, but I'm going to go Cade. And I think it would not be crazy if Cade averaged 10 assists a game. He was at 9.1 last year. So that doesn't seem like a crazy increase. But the only players to average 10 or more assists a game in the entire league last year were Trae Young and Nikola Jokic. After that, Tyrese Halliburton, 9.2. Then you have Cade Cunningham at 9.1. So it's really hard to average 10 assists a game. And I just think with all the attention that Cade gets, with his feel for the game, how good of a playmaker he is, how much better he makes everyone else, I think he could get there, and it would put him in some like pretty elite company in the entire league.
I am floored that Halliburton didn't get 10.
I know, right? I think he had some weird stretches.
Well, yeah, because he started the season off super cold too, right? Like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember exactly what the context was, but the Pacers came out of the gates like in molasses. They were really bad for a while, right?
They weren't even in the playoff picture until like after Christmas. It was weird.
Yeah. Oh, that was weird. Yeah. Oh, so Halliburton either way, if Cade gets up to over 10, that would be pretty incredible, right? I mean, the jump from 9 to 10 is harder than 5 to 6, right? And 6 to 7. But
100%.
I mean, I'm with you. I think he's that kind of playmaker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And yeah, it would put him at Trae Young average over 11 and a half a game last year. I don't know if he's going to do that again. So it could put Cade as like the best playmaking guard when you look at it that way. And I mean, there's no Halliburton this year, unfortunately, but I think Cade is definitely able to do that.
All right, I'll jump in. Let's see, which one do I want to do? I'm going to take Asar Thompson. All right, I'll take Asar Thompson. I think he averages 3 stocks per game. I don't know what the split is there, but I think he gets 3, which that's really tough to do. Really difficult to do. 3 stocks per game is going to get him not only into like all defense first team, but you might be seeing some votes there for defensive player of the year. I think he's there this year. I really think that's the type of defense that you're going to see from Asar Thompson this season. So of all the ones, because I wrote down predictions for all 5 of these players, that's the one I'm actually most confident in, even though it's probably the most difficult thing that I put down.
Yeah, and just for context, he was at 2.4 last year, 1.7 steals, 0.7 blocks. So, I mean, I guess, do you think it's like the steal total will go up
Mostly
more?
Steals.
Yeah.
I could see him getting over 1 block per game, though, especially when you figure he'll be getting a little bit of backup power forward minutes here.
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking the same thing. Like steals go up 2 or over 2 and averaging like a block a game.
I feel like that's some really safe bet on your part.
Yes, but it would be impressive as hell get out, right? I mean, like, just imagine that. Like, if he stays right at that steals number and now he's up over a block per game and you're getting, 2 steals and 1 block right out of Asar Thompson, or it goes up even higher than that. Like, it's hard to articulate exactly how disruptive that is for a guy that's probably averaging, 28 to 32 minutes a night. Like that is game-changing ability there from defense. I'm just all in. I'm all in on Asar Thompson as a defender here for the Pistons next year.
I think he can go 12 and a half points a game. I'll just give you that.
12 and a half. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. As long as he's well over 50% from the floor, if he's doing that, I think that is just gravy.
Just get your free throws all good, and I think it'll be really easy
Yeah.
because he gets to the line so easy. It's ridiculous.
All right, we're coming up on the end here. So, Anthony, do one more. So we got, you just did Asar Thompson, obviously, as well, but we got Ron Holland, Jalen Duren left. One more stat prediction. We'll close out on this, Blake.
Isaiah Stewart, block and a half a game.
Oh,
Okay.
I like it.
So
he's getting over 20 minutes a night, right, on average?
Yes, I think so.
And eligible
As he
for all
should
defense.
Yeah.
As he should have last year. That was insane. I couldn't believe it.
19.9 minutes a game.
Diabolical.
Yeah.
Stole money out of that man's pocket. That's what that was.
100%. I love it. Anthony, before we get out of here, thank you for coming on again. We love having you. So just let all the people know. I'm sure everyone listening is already following you. If not, they definitely should be. But let everyone know where they can find you and anything else you want to plug.
Don't have anything to plug, but appreciate you guys letting me come on. I always enjoy talking basketball with you. You guys can follow me on Pistons Talk on basically every social media platform. I even got back on Threads. I don't even know why. Just because I missed it for a minute. But yeah, just some Pistons Talk on all platforms. Appreciate you guys inviting me out again.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for coming on. It was great. Really appreciate it. We're almost through the dog days of the off season. Shout out to everyone for joining live as well, or if you're listening to us on podcast feeds. Reminder, you can use our voice line, call the number, ask a question, share a thought, whatever it is to hear your voice on the show. The number for that is 313-355-2717. And special thanks to Sean Corp, the managing editor of Detroit Bad Boys, for supporting the show. And shout out to you guys for all the great questions and talking points tonight. We'll catch you next week, whether on your commute or live with us on YouTube. We can't wait to talk more Detroit basketball.